everyone, welcome back to you in the TikTok of the Jock Scientist. So I think I've kind of figured out that what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing 3 parts of a year in a TikTok and then do a video or two on something else. I have 3 different podcasts, two that I'm actively looking at. So next time it will be like maintenance phase since we already did unsolicited. And then someone talked about like Fab Four Fatties or something like that that I want to check out. So that will be something that's like in the rotation. And then of course my levels of disagreement videos that have their own thing going on. And then I feel like there's something else that I'm forgetting. But I'm starting to figure out like a new rotation of videos that I want to do. But I primarily the primary thing of this channel is the year in the TikToks, so I want to do 3 videos of that. So this is video 2 in our video rotation. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it.
Something that used to be really triggering for my body image issues and body dysmorphia were candid photos and videos. Suddenly perceiving myself the way that everyone else does and not some super curated image or reflection of myself would just send me spiraling. And I don't know if this is going to help or make sense, but like, I really started sitting with the that's how everyone perceives me part. Everyone in that photo or video or whatever who was with me in real life could already see how I look. I don't stand around like a fucking picture all the time. They see me moving and expressing and existing in the world. They can see my tummy or my thighs or my double chin or whatever. They don't care. They still love me and they still wanted to take a picture with me. And I already know someone in the comments is going to tell me that actually makes me feel worse. Okay, then this advice isn't for you. Please scroll on. You do not have to be so annoying. For me, it put into perspective how weird and goofy I was being. I'm putting all these lenses of diet culture, patriarchy, beauty standards on myself and nobody else, and nobody does that to me in return. Why do I deserve to get picked apart? Especially since that's how they already see me. I don't deserve it and neither do you.
There's something I just find interestingly almost hypocritical. I can't quite nail down how I want to frame this the because how I want to frame what I'm about to say because like it's gonna sound like I'm nitpicking, but I really something that hit me hard in the last video that I made was like that idea that if you join the body positivity movement, you should be centering like others in that. Like she had an issue with people that were only in it for their own insecurity issues. And she's talking about body image issues. She uses the hashtag body positivity and body neutrality when she's talking once again about her own insecurity issues. And when someone says, well, that makes me feel worse, she calls them annoying. I mean, it's one thing to say scroll on by, then this advice isn't for you. Advice isn't going to work for every single person. But to call them annoying when you had posited in the last video that I did about midway through that people should be focusing on others if they're getting into the body positivity movement, this feels like a direct contradiction to that. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? And I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but that whole conversation about how you should be like focusing on others and not your own insecurities if you're getting into the body positivity movement really like stuck with me. So this right here feels weird. And this is one of the issues that I have. This is like a general issue I have with a lot of people in various um social justice movements or people that try to get on some sort of moral high horse is that their morality is inconsistent. Their sense of morality and their internal logic is completely inconsistent and very cognitively biased towards themselves. And that's another like video series I want to do is the different cognitive biases that we can see primarily in the fat acceptance movement, but I would even branch that out into other social justice movements because I feel like it's what is the breakdown the breakdown of these social justice movements and why people get tired of them and why people start like hating people that are in these social justice movements and wanting to ignore them altogether, because the people that are the loudest favor themselves while preaching that they are fighting for others. And there was even one that this was in a post I saw on Tumblr, uh where like the issue with those of us on the left is that like in the like really left spaces is that there's this preoccupation with doing nothing wrong instead of doing anything right. Like, if you try to do something and maybe and for an overall net good, but you didn't consider something or something slipped past your mind, that seems worse than doing nothing at all in certain left spaces. And I say this as someone who leans pretty heavily left. It's what kills progression. It's what kills the um perception of our political side is this bullshit, this hypocrisy, and this cognitive bias that excuses our own behavior while condemning others. It's just something I've noticed, and it's just something that this particular TikTok made me think of.
You're fat, fat, fatty.
Doesn't bother me.
Keep eating, fatty.
One of my more self-destructive behaviors on this app is any video that's making this joke, which I love personally. I love to scroll through the comments and look for all of the thin people crying about how I guess I just can't have body image issues then, can I? Body dysmorphia is a thing. First of all, nobody is telling you that. Don't lie to me. Second of all, let's remove the body size aspect of this conversation. You and I are talking and I'm like, oh God. If I looked like you, I would feel so gross. Oh, my worst fear is to look like you. Gross! I feel gross thinking about it. Bitch! You would stay my friend after that? Ah! Nobody's...
So that's not what people are saying when they say they feel fat and gross. They're not saying, I feel like I look like you right now, and therefore that's gross and I don't like it. Oh God, look at you. Like that. No, that's not how anyone. This is how there's one of those things where you're like turning stuff around, and this happened even with this happens often even without like weight things. Like there was a time when I had just started wearing glasses and I was kind of, you know, lamenting because I didn't want to wear glasses. I didn't need to wear glasses for like the first 18 years of my life, and I didn't want to start. And someone who had to wear glasses their entire life pretty much from a young age uh like got on my ass about it. People can feel about themselves in a way that has absolutely no reflection on you. There are things where it's like, so especially if they've only known you, like for example, if you're heavy or if you wear glasses, and I've only known you as that person, I don't connect your wearing glasses or your being overweight with who you are. It's a matter of the difference when, especially when I'm referring to myself and I'm like, oh God, I feel fat, I feel whatever. It's completely to do with yourself. And I just, oh, and not only that, but she's talking about, body image issues and talking down about people who have body image issues when she just had another TikTok about how she feels about it. Like it's there just feels like there's this contradiction and this cognitive bias on her part of that excuses her own behavior, justifies her behavior while condemning others. And that's one of the things that I think I like least. I mean, I can't really say I like much of anything about the jock scientist, but one of the things that frustrates me the most about her is this cognitive bias. And for anyone who's wondering, cognitive bias is different from internal bias. The internal bias or whatever is related to like race and gender and how you perceive those things on a subconscious level. Cognitive bias is like an active mechanism in our brain that is trying to justify our actions or trying to keep things semi-consistent for our own mental capacity. And one of those is to not acknowledge when we do something that we would condemn in others and justify it to ourselves in some way. And that's what I see a lot with the jock scientist.
Keeping body image issues, but please stop unveiling your fat phobia to your fat friends, at least. When you get to that point, then you get to sit with the fact that your body image issues do not remove the privileges that come with existing in a thin body.
That shit pisses me off so much. Like, so, again, sorry to bring it back around to the glasses thing. And this isn't a one-to-one comparison, but I feel like it somewhat works. So I have near perfect vision in one eye. Like, I could be without glasses in one eye, but I am, like, almost legally blind in the other. Like, my vision is really bad in the other. There are plenty of times when I can take my glasses off and walk around and be fine. There technically is a depth perception issue, but because I went 18 years with that depth perception issue, I've compensated for it and can work with it fairly easily with some limitations. I do bump into things a bit more often when I'm not wearing my glasses. But if I need to wear a mask or something and I don't want to deal with the glasses, I take the glasses off and I can navigate a store and I can read different signs because my good eye is compensating for everything. Just because I have that privilege that I can pass by without wearing my glasses does not mean that I don't have legitimate sight issues. And just because, yeah, I may have that privilege, it doesn't mean that my issues are necessarily less than someone who wears glasses all the time, and especially if they can wear contacts. My eyes are so sensitive, I can never wear. I would only need one contact. But my eyes are so sensitive and my body in general is prone to infection, I can't wear contacts. So, like, there is a give, like, you always talk about the privilege of other people, but the thing is that the privilege itself is a highly complex issue with far more factors functioning than the ones that you want to highlight. So, someone can have body image issues to the point where it renders them unable to leave the house because they're so caught up in their mental headspace. And yet you still want to talk about their thin privilege when maybe a fat person can function just fine out in society and isn't crippled with that. So it's just one of those things, and that's where I was getting with the glasses analogy, is that there are privileges and disadvantages for every single person, and they tend to be fairly nuanced. And this is why I don't really care for discussion of privilege, barring some very specific circumstances. Because privilege is an overlapping, interconnected issue that I don't think can be just boiled down to, well, you have pretty privilege, well, you have thin privilege, well, you have whatever privilege. So, anyway, we'll move on.
Sitting is the new smoking. That was such a craze a couple years ago, and I promise you there are still people saying that to this day on this app. Even though science was already like, no, sitting is not addictive, and it trivializes the health risk of smoking, which is way more than sitting. It is true that leading a sedentary lifestyle increases your health risk across the board. But over-exercising and always needing activity and needing to be productive is also detrimental for your health. And if you aren't building in those rest days, woo, your body's gonna do it for you. Injury, illness, burnout that leads to a full mental breakdown. If you've never seen someone who's obsessed with exercise get injured and have to take like 2 to 6 months off, they don't know what to do with themselves because they've never rested, for real. If you're constantly keeping your body in a state of activeness, it has no time to actually repair and rebuild. And I don't mean just the traditional rest day. I mean, like, if your body's sick, you don't exercise until you're well again. Or if you're on vacation, you just go on vacation. When exercise accompanies your life instead of becoming your whole life, it sticks around much longer and affords room for other hobbies. I'm sure you've heard.
So the comment choosers Ryan 2 says, can you talk about rest and specifically feeling okay sitting and being sedentary? So the difference here is there's a difference between sedentary for a day, which I typically am on Sundays when I'm recording this, and being sedentary across the board. And whether sitting is the new smoking, I don't really care about that. I'll be honest, I don't give a shit, because it's like comparing health risks is dumb to me in this circumstance, because you can both have a moderately active lifestyle and not. So it's not an either or situation. And if sitting is different from smoking in that you can be sedentary for a while and then change that, and there's just an easier flow to that. There's an easier transition from that. I will say though, when she talks about injury from being active, you can actually still get injuries from being overly sedentary as well. This is something that happened to a family member of mine just recently. She works at a desk job. She has for the past several years. And she went to try to be a little bit more active. It lasted all of 2 weeks. She wasn't going like hog wild either. She was walking slowly on a treadmill several mornings in the week, and she did that for several weeks, and then she took a week off, went to exercise again, but she's still been at that desk job the entire time, and she was only doing cardio. She wasn't doing any sort of strength training in her legs. Well, she ended up with a musculoskeletal injury in her leg that was triggered because her hamstrings had become so weak from sitting at the desk job. And so it's caused this whole thought change around how she is going to perceive her fitness going forward. Being sedentary can still hurt you. It can still cause injury, because when you go to be active through either sheer necessity or want, or like she's like, oh, if you're on vacation, go on vacation. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm on vacation, I'm not going to like a spa fucking resort. I'm gonna go someplace where I'm gonna be like, I want to go see things, so I'm gonna be on my feet a fair amount of the time. Whether sitting is new smoking is kind of irrelevant, and the whole talking about, exercising every single day, not giving your body time to rest. Not as many people will get it, even in the fitness community, aren't like putting in rest days. That's someone who is overzealous with their exercise. But being overly sedentary can still hurt you in similar ways, because your body isn't used to moving that way. So when you go from being overly sedentary to suddenly trying to move more, and no one tells you how to stagger this so that way your body can handle the sudden change in movement levels, you can get hurt. So it happens regardless of which extreme you go to.
Is part of a system called the Dream Body system.
Did you see the feeding tube lady? Because I did. Happy to report that all that content is removed off this app. If you try to search for it, this is what you get. It's something. And if you missed it and you're curious, go watch that Stitch video. She does a great job of breaking down what a dangerous scam it is. What really gets me with the feeding tube weight loss lady and this garbage is how there are people right now hooked up to medical equipment all the time to keep them alive. It's not their weird lifestyle choice masking as an eating disorder. It's to keep them alive. And if they had the opportunity to go off of that shit and eat food, I promise you they would. This is why fat phobia and ableism, that shit is so tightly tied. Have people exist and get told that they're promoting unhealthy lifestyles. Meanwhile, the most insane rhetoric will be spewed in the name of health and wellness, and it's coming from someone trying to be thin or already thin, and they must be the authority.
Okay, that's like, honestly, I don't see how they can present this as like the average healthy person, what the average person who's advocating for like health and wellness is advocating for. Most people, I think, can look at Gwyneth Paltrow and realize, yeah, there's something going on here. And the feeding tube shit, there've been times, even this, it was something that I think was done during the Victorian era, maybe a little later, where women would ingest parasites to assist them to lose weight and then take something to kill the parasite. There's extreme forms of weight loss and shit masking as being healthy from the dawn of time. Like, that's just something that happens. That doesn't mean that the average person takes it seriously. That doesn't mean the average person thinks, yeah, that's a good idea. It's a trend, similar to how there are a number of unhealthy trends on social media. Like, I agree. I don't think those are good ideas. I don't think that that's healthy to put in a feeding tube that you don't need, as a lifestyle choice and or to help you lose weight. But I think that the majority of people don't think that that's a good idea either. So, and to use that as evidence that fat phobia and ableism are like intertwined, honestly, I think that it's far more ableist to act like those that are morbidly obese and their mobility issues stemming from their morbid obesity are the same as someone who's paralyzed. Like, not the same, but like are on the same level as someone who was paralyzed in an accident or from birth or something. Like, one can change their circumstance, the other is stuck that way through no fault of their own.
Also true. People will argue with you until their final dying breath that there's no way someone can be naturally fat. Your whole lineage, big, fat family tree could be in front of them and they'd be like, have you tried diet and exercise? This continues to be interesting as we look at how people talk about thin body types. Now, this was on a video that was about how celebrities are even thinner in person, and Zendaya came up. She's just super slim. I think for some of them, it's just their body type. Might just be genetics. She's just slim and tall. She works hard every day to stay that slim. Now, which is it? Are they naturally thin or are they working very hard? It just further proves to me that we put thinness on such this pedestal that we are willing to openly speak contradictory about it if it means defending the status. Where there's only one way that you can be fat and it's wrong, but there's multiple ways to be thin and they're all right. Maybe we just stop assuming things about people's bodies.
It's so hard to believe.
So, here's the thing. I'm not in favor of people being naturally thin. I don't think that that's necessarily a thing that no matter what they eat, they're just naturally thin. That's not how that really works. Most people with any mature look at the world and can see the effects of, cause and effect, can acknowledge that if someone is thin, even though I'm seeing them eat a lot, then something else is going on behind the scenes. We're not going to talk about EDs in this because I don't think that it's relevant to this conversation. But the reason why I say that is because she's like, there's a bunch of different ways to be thin and they're all right. No one's condoning an eating disorder and saying that's the good thing to do if you're thin. Just to make yourself thin. Here's the thing. If someone is quote unquote naturally thin, they're probably not naturally thin. You see them eat a big meal, maybe that's the only meal they eat for the day. You see, maybe they're more active than you realize. Maybe they tend to eat lighter meals, and this is like the once a week sort of thing where they just kind of eat a bunch of food. In general, like my sister is like 30, 40 pounds lighter than me, and she's significantly slimmer than I am. And she just doesn't eat as much as I do. I work out more than she does, but she doesn't eat nearly as much as I do. The only thing I will lend to being naturally slim is some people have lighter appetites than others, and that lends to thinness. But that's not necessarily a matter of being that doesn't negate the calories in, calories out model. So if a bunch of family is really overweight, like you're down your family line, that's probably because there's a family culture around food and overeating. Like that can happen too. It doesn't change the fact that you would need to diet and exercise to lose that weight, and you could in fact lose that weight. For the celebrities, they have fucking chefs, a diet plan, a nutritionist, a personal trainer, XYZ. Like, they may or may not work hard, but even if they don't work hard, it's because they can pay a bunch of people to manage that shit for them, especially in terms of food. So, no, I'm sorry, no one is naturally thin or naturally fat.
That they can build an army to defend Western civilization again.
Alright, so the comment that Jesus went to says, wait, fitness to alt-right pipeline. I've never heard of that before. Could you elaborate? I remember her talking about this a while back. I don't think it was even in the last video. It may have been a couple of videos ago. But let's hear what she has to say on this.
I'm going to use the Rise Above movement as an example of what I am referencing when I talk about the fitness to alt-right pipeline. And if you're not familiar with this group, wonderful. You should not be. Nobody should be. They are one of several fascist neo-Nazi hate groups that have built themselves over the last couple of years. And most of these organizers and members and founders, if they haven't been arrested yet, are members of multiple of these groups. I point out the Rise Above movement specifically because part of their purpose is fitness training. They sell themselves as a literal fight club, and they will teach you how to get strong. They'll teach you how to fight. And they're doing this so that they can build an army to defend Western civilization against Jewish people and Islam and black and brown people and women and queer people, etc. Now, even the most toxic, annoying gym bro that you know is going to hear that and be like, I'm good. But the scary part is all of those founders, organizers, members, they know that. They're not going to start out with that bit of information. When they're coming into these online fitness spaces, it's supportive, it's friendly, it's fun. They come in to build each other up. Hey, you're doing a great job, King. I can see how strong you're getting. Oh, you look great. You're really dedicated. Lots of really great rapport and positive associations. They're building a relationship. And let's not forget that online and offline fitness spaces are predominantly male. And unfortunately, there are a ton of systemic issues to exploit before it trickles down into full-blown fascism. Sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, fatphobia. Gonna start out easy enough by, making fun of fat people. Just making fun of this fat activist, right? Just this fat woman. Me. Then it's just making fun of any woman. Then it's just questioning women's rights. Then it's questioning trans athletes. Do they belong in sport? Then it's questioning trans people at all. Then it's looking at drag queens. Oh, what a threat those are to our children. And this is all coming from the same person who was building you up, making you feel really good about achieving your fitness goals. How could they ever steer you down the wrong path? You already feel great about yourself and this person and this community. And they're not going to recruit every single person in these discussions. A lot of people will be like, that's too much or it's too weird. They'll back off, but not everybody. I'm thinking about those whose brains aren't fully formed yet, and they're incredibly young and impressionable still. And they know all this. They know that fitness is a quick, easy way to build trust and positive relationships with individuals so that they can lead them down a path of dangerous, hateful conspiracy theories, especially young men.
So one, then this, even what you've said doesn't, you're overblowing it by saying it's the fitness to alt-right pipeline. What this clearly is a form of brainwashing, manipulation, control, and even cult-like practices that can be done in a variety of settings, not just fitness. Maybe fitness is the one that appeals most to young men, like you said, who are young and impressionable and easy to manipulate. But to say that that is part of the toxic fitness culture is an overshoot. And you even acknowledge that not everyone is going to do it, and that it's primarily focused towards the young and impressionable. Well, that same fucking thing can happen with beauty industries, with even fucking nerd culture, for fuck's sake. Are you telling me that you don't know that, there are some people, people who want to do bad will do bad, and they will find their victims with enough effort. Here's the thing. I don't know, I have no idea what the Rise Against movement is, and from the sound of it, I'm kind of glad I don't, but this sounds like just a pretty standard manipulation tactic for those that want to manipulate and control others and have a sense of power over them. This sounds like the modus operandi for a number of different cults and seedy movements. To say that it is purely the fitness culture, fitness to alt-right pipeline, is a bit of an overshoot. It's clearly an issue. I'll even take it at face value. This is clearly an issue, especially among fitness spaces with young men. It's a potential hazard. It's a potential danger, and it's something that young men should probably be educated on, and the adults around them should probably be a bit more aware of, considering that this can be it sounds rather insidious. Even, she has put so many caveats in here, I'm I don't understand how you can connect this to the fitness culture as a whole and say it's the fitness to alt-right pipeline. It's something that's, and this is one of the things that, this just ties back to the fat acceptance movement as a whole. They have occasional, good insights. They have, this whole thing, it's worth looking into. It's worth examining. It's worth being concerned about if it is as she is presenting it. And for now, we're just going to take it wholesale. But then you overgeneralize it. You generalize it to the point of fucking absurdity. It's like when they say, doctors don't listen to fat people, when there are genuine concerns about fat people not being listened to, especially in terms of certain cancers and their concerns being ignored, especially uterine cancer or ovarian cancer or something, and it presenting in ways that doctors will dismiss them and say to just lose weight, and then before you know it, they lose their uterus because the proper tests weren't done. Legitimate fucking concern. Genuine, literal fucking, legitimate fucking concern there. But then that's overgeneralized into doctors don't care about fat people, doctors are fat phobic, don't listen to your doctor if they ever tell you to lose weight. This is the same thing. So, what you've done is you have identified a potential danger within young men's fitness culture. Legitimate concern. Legitimate thing to put forth. Something that people should be aware of, but then you overgeneralize it and say that it is the fitness to alt-right pipeline. Therefore, encompassing all of fitness culture, especially all of bro fitness culture, is too much to put in this fitness to alt-right pipeline, because there's plenty of bro fitness spaces that, even if they're not the friendliest to women, aren't necessarily a danger either. But then this is a legitimate issue. So It's the biggest issue with the fat acceptance movement is their overgeneralization of issues.
Months to get summer body ready. 525,600 minutes till summer. What are you doing about it? Not falling for this shit. No, I'm tired of it. Who's profiting off of all of us hating our body? Who profits off of it? Bought some new swimsuits, making some fun plans, stocking up on sunscreen? I'd say I'm ready. What's wrong with trying to be healthy? I'm just trying to get healthy. Why are you telling people it's okay to not be healthy? When did I say that? Run it back. When did I say it? This might be controversial to say, but like body size, aesthetic, scale goals really cheapen the benefits of what hydrating well, sleeping properly, eating well-balanced, nourishing meals, and exercising regularly truly does for us.
One, I'm not even going to address the health thing about losing weight for summer. We're going to treat it pretty superficial. You want to look sexy at the beach. I think that's fine. I think that's 100% fine. And she talks about how weight loss goals cheapen the benefits that's seen through any other variety of health promoting activities. But the thing is that people, those benefits, and while I 100% agree they are the more important benefits than looking sexy, it's not as apparent when it's happening. You losing weight and having a sexy bod is a tangible benefit to what you've done. All the other stuff is like gravy because you're not even fully aware that it's happening. Sometimes if you lose a significant amount of weight, you're like, oh wow, and you start to do things, you're like, oh wow, I can do this a lot easier than I could before. And that's really impactful, but there are plenty of people that just lose some weight for the goal of aesthetics, and if it's ultimately a net gain, what difference does it make? You know?
A longtime fitness professional, almost every time I've seen someone fall off the wagon, it's because they haven't achieved whatever scale, body size, aesthetic goal they set for themselves, and they throw all the other progress, success, function, and feeling of their body right out the fucking window. All that shit's marketing. Your body is already summer ready.
So I actually disagree with why people fall off the wagon because they didn't reach their uh waist circumference or weight goal. That's definitely part of it, but I think the more often reason why people tend to fall off the wagon is because what they were doing was unsustainable for them. They like tried to do these whole turnaround changes that were pretty drastic from how they were living before, and it was unsustainable for them. That's just something that happens. I fell off the wagon for a little bit because I really, really struggle with recording my food. Like I really struggle. Like at the end of the day, sometimes I realize I haven't recorded anything, and I don't really feel it. Feels like it feels like this huge thing to go back and put in all my food. What I've started doing is just keeping tally marks for every day that I've logged my food, and I think I told you guys about this last time. And it's in a very visible spot in my room, so that way when it's later at night and I don't want to, I look and I'm like, if I don't log it now, I have to erase all of those tally marks, and that's a bit of a motivation for me to log it in, and that's what's helping make it more sustainable for me. But there are people where it's like if you went from just grabbing whatever to meticulously measuring out your food, and yeah, after 2 weeks, a month, you're gonna get tired of that because you weren't doing it before, and life was simpler and faster, and you had more time for other things when you weren't doing that. So it's a matter of kind of balancing probably the healthiest way to do things with the most sustainable way to do things. That doesn't mean that adding weight loss into that mix is a bad thing. All right, we're gonna look at one more, and then I'm gonna end the video for today.
Why is everyone acting weird towards me?
No, we're not. You're chill. Come on.
No, seriously. Why is everyone...
So the caption says, what it feels like when you're plus size and you show up to do literally any physical activity. I think that a good portion of I think this falls into a couple of different categories. One, there is the spotlight effect that is it like just a natural thing. When you feel really out of place, you feel like everyone's watching you. This happens in a variety of places, even for me, like in completely unrelated to weight loss or fitness spaces. If I'm going into a place where I know nothing, I feel like everyone's watching me. It's just a natural cognitive event that happens. And you'll get used to it and you'll work through it. It's not a big deal as long as you are kind of aware of it and you can kind of breathe through it, especially if it causes you a lot of anxiety. You can get through it, it becomes a regular thing for you, and that spotlight effect goes away. The other thing is that maybe if you're trying to do something, someone mentions whitewater rafting, over here, maybe if they're not used to you, or quite frankly, if you're close to the weight limit, that's gonna draw more attention. They may not be used to seeing you around that may also draw attention. It's not that anyone is trying to, um, shame you or make you feel out of place or anything. It's just a surprise when you're not used to seeing people like you there. So, like, I don't think anyone necessarily has a problem with it. I certainly don't have a problem with, fat people showing up at any level of fitness spaces. It's just, it may be surprised the first time you're there. Usually, if you're there and people are looking at you, go back a couple of times, it'll probably wear off. And unfortunately, it is uncomfortable. But recognize that probably about half of that is is the spotlight effect, and the other half is, the other like 2/3 of that half of the other half is people just kind of surprised that you're there. That will probably wear off after the first time. They'll get used to seeing you there. And that little bit of remainder is just people that may be assholes. It's not nearly as personal as I feel like this is making it out to be. So with that, we are done for today. This was something that I read from my local library. It's called Ruined, by Sarah Vaughn. It is this Austen-esque romance with marriage of convenience, which is my favorite fucking trope. I love marriage of convenience and contract marriages that bloom into actual romance. I love that fucking trope. And it's actually really sweet. It's pretty well written, and it's really really cute. I recommend it. The only thing that I had an issue with that feels like it kind of takes you out. It's not even that the what's presented is an issue, but it kind of takes you out of the immersion of the Austen-esque setting, and that is there is a same-sex couple, which is fine. Like the way that it's treated in the beginning, where it's like you just happen to see them to get those two together. This is like a different couple, and you just happen to see those two together. And there's definitely like these hints of affection, and they're very sweet. All work really well until we get to this party scene where apparently everyone knows that they have feelings for each other and are supportive of it. And there's even the scene towards the end where the scene, like, this is just a minor plot thread through the beginning. It just caught my attention these few times where everyone was just talking about their relationship like they would talk about anyone else's relationship. And then at the end, the two women talk about moving in together, and someone asked if they would need a chaperone for them because they know that they are like interested in each other, and there's like this suggestion that they get married. And it's like this, I'm like, the same-sex couple relationship works actually pretty well in the story, especially when contrasted with these two. It works really well, but the public acceptance level of it kind of takes me out of the immersion of the Austen-esque setting, because it's very period in its nature. So that was the only thing, but it's pretty good. I really liked it. So some other things is I started reading Ranker's Return, which feels very much like I'm the max level newbie. In a lot of ways. It's pretty good if you like fantasy. There is no romance in this one, but it's a fun, both kind of rags to riches, and it feels like there's gonna be this revenge nuance to it later on, which I'm really looking forward to. The Adventures of the Demon King's Daughter and the Beloved Little Princess are both daughters of potentially like toxic fathers that dote on them but like are toxic to everyone else, and they're really cute and I like them. Lips Upon the Edge of the Sword is has one of my favorite female protagonists of all time. So she is the captain of the most prestigious guard in her land, right? And she's a sword master. Not many people are sword masters. She's the only sword master in her group. And she is an absolute badass, and her mother just wants her to get married. So she does end up getting married for like because she catches his eye and he's interested in, so he's like, I want to marry her. For both political, like, she's also a bit of a pawn to him. But what's really cute is that she actively defends herself. She doesn't need any help, but she's afraid of anyone finding out, like, how powerful she is. So she pretends that someone else did all of the work that she did to kind of keep this fragile moniker that her mother set up for her, to kind of keep her in check, so that way she didn't beat up her fiance, basically. It's really cute. It's really good. I love it. The Second Dawn, I would not recommend. I only read like the first 3 chapters-ish of it, but there's already so much wrong with it. He is in love with him, but he has a fiance that they get married in like the first chapter. But they still have like a sexual relationship. So he's an active cheater, which I hate. He is his cousin and also has an interest and has been blackmailing him about their relationship and how he's going to out these two to his wife as a way to extort sex out of him. I did not like it. First, I did not care for it. Not at all. Not my thing. Did not care for it. So that's about it for today. It was like staff appreciation week for like the people in my class, like, because there's a couple of different ranges. There's like the principals, there's the teachers, and then there's the assistants, and I'm in like considered like a teacher's assistant, so it was like the assistants appreciation week sort of thing, and the teachers had the kids write these little notes. Clearly I got some from like a first grade class, because it was clear that it was their writing. Kindergarten wouldn't have been able to write that. It's clear that it was their writing, and it was really cute, because I work in a library, right? And all of their little comments were like, she checks out my books. She lets me scan my book. It was really cute. It was so fucking adorable. And then I also had, I don't know if I said this last week, but it's just, or what, did it happen this week? I don't remember, so I'm gonna just tell you guys. But I'm in charge of like the student helpers. They sometimes come in for 1 or 2 recesses a week, and we have like 20 to 25 different kids coming in during the week. And I'm teaching them some basic library skills and everything. And one of them comes up to me and is like, you know what I think would be really fun is if we had a party here and we had donuts. And I said, oh, really? And she goes, yeah, I thought of that all by myself. I'm like, I'm sure you did, sweetheart. Truth is that I'm fully planning to give them a little party and to get either donuts, cupcakes, or candy for them. But that's going to wait till closer to the end of the school year. Plus, it's Ramadan right now, and some of my helpers participate in the fasting of Ramadan, and so I'm not about to bring donuts in and torture those poor kids. Like, yes, there's a party. I'll probably be the only one of the year, and you can't partake. No fucking way. But anyway, that's all I had to really share today. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.